Well, welcome to Celebrate Recovery. I get the honor of introducing my special friend, Lori, tonight. So Lori and I met at this church, but we really got to know each other through this program. And this program has been going on almost a year. We've really gotten to know each other, and it really gets deep through this program, through our small groups, but also through step study. So when I met Lori, we were both really deep in our grief. My husband and I had lost our oldest son. He committed suicide about a year and a half ago, and my friend Lori also lost her husband. So these are really, really hard things to try to get through. And Lori and I, through step study and this amazing group of women, have been able to really get through all those things like guilt and shame and blame and all those deep hurts, and through the help of Jesus. So a really cool thing about Celebrate Recovery is we give what we call testimony, and that is what Lori is doing tonight. She's giving her testimony to testify to the power of what Jesus has done in her life. And through Jesus, anything can happen. We can overcome anything. And so that is what we do here, and I'm really proud of Lori. She was really struggling with alcoholism and her grief as well. So I've just watched her really blossom and grow, and we helped each other a lot, didn't we? So I really love Lori. She's really growing in our leadership now for women here, and she also leads at AA too. So with that, I just give her a hand. She'll be coming up.
Marcus, you're going to go?
Marcus. I thought he was going to give me a hug. I'm like, okay, it was good.
Right. Tissues? Ooh, check. Okay. So all good speakers start with a joke. What did Jonah's family say when he told them about what happened before reaching Nineveh? Sounds fishy. Jonah, whale, fish. Okay, thanks for playing. That was really fun. Hang on, I'm going to put my... So, being here tonight, when Dan approached me and said, hey, Lori, are you ready to give your testimony? He was pointing on the calendar and said, February 14th, and I looked at him and I said, oh, Dan, I can't do it on February 14th. I said, I'm cooking that night. And he said, oh. He said, the next one? And I said, the 28th of February? That'd be great. I can do that. So I was just pumped, on top of the world. God was talking to me every day saying, Lori, you need to share your story, because you know what? If you help one person, if you give one person hope, you're doing my work. Amen. So I sat down and thought, okay, Lori, you like to scatter every once in a while, and I really do. Tend to get a little crazy. So I was actually looking for a paper clip, but hey, this will work. Oh. But, so I was like, how am I gonna do this? And then I thought, I know how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this like I've done like 4 times already. I'm gonna write it out as a timeline. Because when I had the pleasure of going through treatment, I had to give my drug history. And to get through my drug and alcohol history, I had to go back, way back in time. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. Some of you think it started long ago, but my beginning started on February 9th of 1966. That was the day that I was born into a long line of drinkers. They had a plan for me. Wasn't written down, but there was a plan for me. And at the age of 9, on July 31st, 1975, I was baptized. I was baptized in a small little apartment in Grand Forks, North Dakota. It was at my grandma's apartment. But at the age of 9, I was baptized. I think it's because my godparents were actually elders in the church, and because I didn't go to church. My parents didn't go to church. But shortly after I was baptized, a miracle happened. A red and white school bus that said Church of the Nazarene on the side of it came to my house. And the bright, cheery man got out of the bus and said, "How would you like to come to Sunday school?" And my dad came walking out of the garage. And by the way, my dad wasn't a mechanic by trade, but that's where he sat and spent many years drinking, was in the garage. And he came out of the garage and he met this man, Pastor Lowe, and asked him, "What can I do for you?" And the pastor said, "Well, sir," he said, "my name is Pastor Stephen Lowe, and I'm from the Bloomington Church of the Nazarene. And I just wanted to let you know that if you would allow your children to go to Sunday school," I don't know what it was that he saw about my dad that thought that my dad wouldn't want to go to church, but he was absolutely correct in guessing that. But he said, if you would like your children to learn about Jesus, we have this bus that we will come pick your children up on Sunday morning, and we will take them to church, and we will feed them at noon when we are done, and we will bring them back home. And that was how I started going to church. It was the Sunday school bus. So at the age of 9, shortly after I had been baptized, I started going to Sunday school. And I loved going to Sunday school. You can't tell it now, and I do apologize to Marcus and the gentleman that was standing back there while I was singing. There was a point in my life when I was 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, that God let me vocalize, and it actually sounded good. Now, maybe not so much. But, and that was one of the cool things about Sunday school and going to church, is I actually got to get up in front of the church and sing. I got to sing for people. And that really made my heart feel good. So anyway, when I was 11 years old, after I'd been going to Sunday school for 2 years, I was 11 years old, and I went to one of the Bible camps that they had on Big Sandy in McGregor. It's funny how I'm only a few minutes away from there now, but at that Bible camp in August of 1977, I gave my life to Jesus. They had an altar call, and I went up, and my counselor, Rosie, went with me, and she put her arm around me, and that day, I felt the love of God. So that was great, okay? So that got me to 11, and then let's move forward a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of my background. So when I was a small child, until I was 7 or 8, I had been sexually abused by a family member. And that abuse didn't happen all the time, but it happened enough that it kind of put a mark of behavior in me that was wild, to say the least. And as a young teen, I became promiscuous and inappropriate around older men. So my life went on. I was an athletic individual. And at the age of 14, in that same apartment that I was baptized in Grand Forks, North Dakota, I was in that apartment by myself. I'd been kind of chosen to go be there to help take care of my grandma after she had her carotid artery surgery. And unfortunately, she never came home from the hospital. She had suffered a major stroke on the table and ended up going directly into a nursing home. So while I was in this apartment, this was right before I was going to start, ninth grade. It was like the walls were talking to me. And I started to have visions or what I thought were just very impure thoughts of somebody in my family doing something to me that wasn't right. And I called my girlfriend who was back home, and I said, Alice, I said, I don't know what's going on here, but I have not taken any drugs. I did drink beer with my cousin down at the river, but I said, I'm losing my mind. I said, this isn't normal. I think I'm going crazy. And I ended up coming home 2 days after school started. So I ended up coming home on Thursday. And my mom, we had kind of passed. My mom had gone to North Dakota while I was on my way home from North Dakota. And I didn't have a chance to talk to her. And my mom wasn't the kind of person that talked on the phone. Well, it's hard to describe my mom. I honestly don't ever remember getting a hug. Ever. Even when I was little. It wasn't my mom that gave the hugs. It was my dad. So I had the pleasure of thinking I was crazy, and that was my first attempt at suicide. And I decided that I was going to take a handful of my mom's high blood pressure pills. I was going to take them while I was at school, and I was going to die. And the most influential, supportive person of my life I met on that day during that time. She was a brand new teacher to the school. She happened to be a special education teacher and dealt with students that had behavioral issues. And I had said something in the classroom about I was going to die today, and one of the teachers made a phone call, and boom, all of a sudden I met this woman named Marcia, all of 5'2". She walked like this, and she was very matter of fact, and she said, I'm going to take you to the hospital, and we are going to get you help. Well, she did. She took me to the adolescent psychiatric ward in downtown Minneapolis, and they started to help me. My mom immediately came home from North Dakota. They had a meeting with my parents. The doctor said, do you know why your 14-year-old daughter just tried to commit suicide? My mom said, no, I have no idea. There's nothing there. I don't get it. Why? And he said, can you give me a recap of Lori's life up until now? My mom said, well, she was born, she had a congenital defect, they fixed it. And then she said, when she was younger, she had been sexually molested. And I got a look on my face that I had a hard time dealing with it. But there was a big walnut conference table, and when she said that, I stood up, I lifted that table, I flipped it, and said, "You knew? You knew?" So that was at 14. The secret came out. The secret came out. It was no longer a secret, but we still didn't talk about it. Being 14, I would not go get any type of help. And so I went through the years, and I struggled up and down. When I was 16, I met my husband for the first time. It's really funny, but not most people would make that like the first conversation that you have with somebody that you meet. But when I was 16, I met him for the first time, and he thought I was a snot-nosed kid as I showed him my engagement ring, because I was now engaged to the high school sweetheart. Well, that kind of fell apart, and I tried to go into the military, came home from that stint. I started working at the bowling alley. I was 18. Lo and behold, this gentleman that I met when I was 16, and I was the snot-nosed kid, walked into the bar that I was working in, and I can't even think of the name for him, but so he couldn't bowl because he hurt his back, but one of the girls on the team he was dating at the time, there was a girl that was sitting behind them watching, was his most recent girlfriend. And he stepped into the bar to ask me out on a date. Okay, I think you call that a man whore, but I'm not sure. So anyway, we connected, and we connected quickly. So that was in the fall of 1984. I was still in high school. I was actually in my senior year of high school, and we were married in April of 1985. And it wasn't because I had to. It was because I wanted to. I didn't feel comfortable in the eyes of God living in sin. And I loved him. I would have laid down my life for him, and we got married. And then I graduated high school. So we decided right after I graduated that we were going to attempt to start our family. And that didn't work very well because God has a plan for us. And his plan didn't include Lori having children at the age of 19. So in 1987, we bought our first house. In 1988, I was hospitalized for severe depression from unresolved childhood trauma. Feature that. So, no, I didn't address it then either, just FYI. 1988, we gained custody of my stepson, who was 5 years old at the time. In 1989, I became pregnant for the first time, but that was not meant to be. In 1991, we had our first daughter. In 1993, we had our second daughter, and my second daughter was born on the day that they buried my father. When I say they, Lori didn't get to go because she ended up being 10 weeks early, an emergency C-section. And all I could tell people is, I gotta go bury my dad. I gotta go be Fort Snelling. I gotta go. That didn't happen. So after my dad passed away, I think I took up where he had left off when he quit drinking, and I drank, and I drank, and I drank. And I drank, and Yeah, so 1993 was a really hard year. So my daughter was born early. My dad died. Well, dad died. Daughter born early. April was born in May. I was diagnosed with my first cancer diagnosis in May of 1993. I had the majority of my reproductive system removed in December of 93, on December 16th actually, and on December 29th, this is where God comes into play again. My husband suffered a heart attack at the age of 30. No previous history. So so Lori has cancer in 93, Kurt has a heart attack in 93, so that is one of there's not a whole lot of times that I remember calling out for God to help me, but the words I said to him went like this: God, I can't be a widow at 27 with 3 small children. That was my conversation with God. Now remember, at the age of life, I gave my life to Jesus, and then I kind of walked away. So then, go through our bouts. My first treatment stint was in 1998. My husband also got to learn about alcoholism and how it's such a fun family dynamic because you just never know what the alcoholic mind will say and or do. So in 1998, after I got out of that first treatment, we started going to church because I realized that my 3 and 4-year-old daughters, 5 and 6-year-old daughters, had not been baptized, and I really felt that they needed to be baptized. So, Lori, you need to go to church. So I did that. I went to church. And we ended up walking away from that because it just wasn't a good family dynamic for us. And then in 2001, more sexual abuse was revealed in my family. And all I could think of is, when will this stop? And God, please help me. 2002, my mom died. 2005, I finally got the job of a lifetime. 2006, I had my second cancer diagnosis. 2007, I had my third cancer diagnosis. Now they're all separate. They're not associated with one another at all. So, but you know, I never asked God. I never asked God back into my life. I never asked him if I could walk with him every day. I never went to the Bible. No, I didn't do that. Instead, I drank and I worked, and I drank and I worked, and I drank and I worked. And I forgot to watch my kids grow up because I was too busy drinking and working. In 2012, our oldest daughter got married, and in 2012, my husband and I moved to northern Minnesota. And we were flying high. We were living the dream. I mean, we'd always wanted to move north when we retired, so it was even better now in life that we could move north and be where we're going to retire to. But early, I still got to work. He got to retire because his health got so bad that the doctor told him he needed to remove stress in his life. And he thought that his job was stressing him out. Well, little did we know that it was actually his wife that was stressing him out, but that's okay. So he was able to, he spent 1 year not working, and then he went to work part-time here in Grand Rapids. And in the meantime, I've got the dream job I have wanted, and I'm still drinking like there's no tomorrow. The only thing I drank was beer and water, beer and water, beer and water. That's all I drink. And look at me today. So in 2015, my son gets married. And then also in 2015, our youngest daughter gets married. In 2016, I am blessed with my first grandchild. Not me, we were blessed with our first grandchild. And that was in May. So I'm living high on the hog. I got a great job. I got a great family. I got a first grandchild. And she is our everything. And August of 2016, I decide to take my minivan and flip it end over end and climb out the window and get my first DWI in northern Minnesota. I get pay hefty fines. I get put on probation. I get put on the color wheel. So if anyone's ever done the color wheel, boy, oh boy, is that fun. So I spent 2 years being sober. 2 years being sober. I didn't go to any type of program. I went to their 6 weeks of aftercare treatment, which, no, wasn't my idea of a good time. So then in 2017, we have our only grandson, and our second granddaughter comes. And then in 2019, we have our third granddaughter. And right after we had that third granddaughter, we're like, whew, we have a one-bedroom house. We really need to step it up. And we were going to build this big grand home, and we're like, yeah, let's keep it easy. Let's buy a prefabbed home, put a slab in, move it in. Let's buy instead of paying somebody to drive to Wawina, and by the way, mileage to Wawina is ridiculous. Instead of paying somebody to come put in a septic system for us, I, as the confident individual that I am, tell my husband, I will buy you a tractor and we will do this together. We can do this. I've had contractors at work tell me numerous different ways that we can do it, and it sounds easy peasy, rice and cheesy. We got this. So we put that septic system in 2019, and we get the slab poured. They haul our new home in on the 15th of December, 2019, which was actually kind of funny. And on the 20th of December, I lose my second oldest brother, Dick, to cancer, and Dick and I were very close, and that was a big loss. It was a big loss, but it was also a point in my life where I started to talk to God a lot. Now, I wasn't going to church, and I wasn't reading the Bible every day, but I was doing a lot of talking to God, because I think life was starting to be a little bit more precious to me. So, along with losing my brother, the one thing that was magnificent that I've gained is the relationship that I now have with my sister-in-law that I didn't have before. We struggled through the 10 months that my brother had died until there was that one fateful day in October of 2020, that we went to bed and I woke up and he didn't. So my best friend died in his sleep right next to me. And I got up and I ran around like, I kid you not, I woke up when I knew I'd felt him. I knew he was gone. I woke up and I literally am doing this, and I'm the only one in the house. So I go out and I grab my phone and I call 911. And I have a lovely woman that lives 2 40-acre lots across from me, who's a first responder, come and verify that he's gone. And all I could think of is, what am I going to do now? I have a job that I literally am responsible for 150 other human beings. I have 40 acres in the middle of God's country that I'm going to have to take care of. And I have a tractor I don't know how to drive. I knew how to drive the skid steer, but I didn't know how to drive the tractor. So my husband passes away. All my kids, I asked my kids, can you come roof my house? Well, we can't make it, Mom. Their dad dies, and wow, everybody's at my doorstep. So my kids are up. My sister-in-law came up with them. And the first thing I promised my kids, was, I will not fall into a bottle. I will not. I will not fall into a bottle. I will be all right. And I was all right for about 6 weeks. Then the grief turned into terrible dislike for people who had the audacity to stand in front of me and tell me how disrupted their life is because their refrigerator didn't show up. And all I could do was look at them kind of blank and and then all I could think of is, my best friend's gone. My husband's dead. He's not coming back. He won't be on the delivery truck next Tuesday when your refrigerator comes. And that is making you that angry? Really? Not gonna lie, but I snapped. And I called up the regional vice president and I said, I almost physically put my hands on a customer today. I need more time. So I took 6 more weeks off because I was going to deal with the hurt, the grief, the abandonment. And I did. I got professional help. But that wasn't all. That wasn't it. That wasn't enough. Then I went back to work, and I seemed to be okay to everybody else. But I knew, because I would get up to get ready for work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would, at 3:05, while I was in the shower, I would be thinking, okay, I get done at 4 o'clock today. I get done at 4 o'clock. I will go to the liquor store and I will buy 2 cases of beer today. I'll buy 2 cases of beer. And I will only drink 6 tonight. I will only drink 6 tonight. And that was seriously what was going through my mind. I was a dense fog when I was at work because I'm sure I was probably still intoxicated, but I functioned. So time goes on. So July 15th, I take a week's vacation, and this was going to be a real vacation, and I was so excited because I was going to take all 4 of my grandchildren for a few days, and I was going to spend quality time with them. Well, I did take them for a few days, and I promised myself I wasn't going to drink. Now, didn't I tell you about that promise before? That promise didn't work. So the kids would go to bed, and Grandma would go have a couple of beers to calm her nerves and help her sleep. And then that week ended on Sunday, July 25th, 2021. That week ended. I had gone golfing with my youngest daughter and son-in-law and granddaughter, and when we got done golfing, I had drank up a storm on the golf course. And when we got done golfing, they were packing up, getting ready to go back to the cities, and my daughter says to me, "Mom, you don't have any place that you have to go, right?" I said, "No, no, I'm good. I'll stop and get gas in the morning on my way to work." So I was going to be at the gas station at 3:30, put gas in my car, get to work. They left, and I decided that I was going to go put gas in my car right now. So I got in my brand new car that I bought myself, and I got on Highway 2, and I was texting on my phone, and I lost control of my car, and I parked it right into the ditch. Well, I actually parked it, I was going fast enough, didn't flip, nothing. Just parked it perfectly that the wheels were all off the ground, and it actually bent the frame of the body, so they totaled the car. So, first person I call is my insurance man. Isn't that who you call when you're in an accident? The insurance man. "Hey, Tim, do you know a good record company? I need a tow truck. I need to get my car out of the ditch." "Where are you?" "Highway 2, just outside of Swan River." As people that know me are driving by, and I get a first responder that stops, and OnStar, well, God, can I tell you how great she is? She called the police for me. She did. I told her I was okay. I was not hurt, but she insisted on calling the police for me. So, we get some first responders out there. I call my daughter and tell her what happens, and they're probably to Cromwell. Well, they turn around and come back. Because I have 2 dogs at home, and I'm probably going to go to jail. And my 2 dogs can't be left at home. So one of the hardest things my daughter said to me was, yep, the police did show up. Really nice highway patrolman, state trooper, came, did the test. I could have swore I was sober as a judge. And he told me differently. And I refused to blow. I'm sorry, I don't blow on the side of the road. So then it was, well, then I'm going to take you to the hospital and we're going to draw blood. Okay, so he handcuffs me, and my daughter said, the hardest part was watching them put you in that car while your granddaughter sat and watched. She might have been 1.5, but she sat and watched. And 5:11 p.m., July 25th, 2021, he gently put me in the squad car. I was in there all by myself, and I know that the camera was on. And I bowed my head and I said, God, I cannot do this anymore. Please, please help me. I will do whatever you tell me to do. And with that, I opened my eyes, and I had this profound peace come over my body. The officer got into the car. I reminded him that we needed to go to the hospital for a blood draw. And he said, you're okay with that? And I said, absolutely. I said, I'll even tell her what vein she should probably go for. So we go into, I think it's called a Sally Port there at the hospital, and I'm telling this nurse, this is the vein. Trust me, I have collapsed veins. I have veins that roll. Just do this one. And this officer, I think he sensed something, because I think he sensed that the person that he met on the side of the road wasn't the same person that he was sitting outside the Sally Port with. Because we had a conversation. And then I had a great conversation when I was taken up to booking. The deputy that I met, fantastic woman. And I, for a deputy, when I told her, I said, God, I really screwed up. My family is never going to have anything to do with me. I said, I might as well be dead. And the thing that she said to me was, Lori, you need to remember one thing. People make mistakes. You made a mistake. She said, it's not the end of the world. And I looked at her and I said, thanks. That's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed to hear. So I go to jail, I get out of jail, I put myself through treatment. Oh yeah, when I'm in treatment, I meet these two fantastic people. One of them is a licensed chemical dependency counselor, and the other one is a spiritual counselor. And the one, when he says that he is the pastor of a church in Goodland, I said, really? I said, I live in Wawina, and I've always wanted to check that church out. So I told him, when I get out of here and I get a driver's license, I'm going to come to church. I have been coming to this church since October 10th of 2021. I have been attending AA since October 4th of 2021. And then when I was told that there was going to be a Celebrate Recovery here, I went, well, yeah, I'm going to be here on April 12th, 2021, 2022. Of course I am. And I couldn't wait for Celebrate Recovery to get here because I had met a girl in treatment whose family was involved in the Celebrate Recovery in Grand Rapids. And when she was in treatment, she had a Bible, and it was called a Celebrate Recovery Bible. And I looked at it, and I'm like, wow. I'd never seen a Bible that wasn't the King James Version with the red letters. And every time I tried to start reading the Bible from the time I was really young, I don't think I could get past Genesis. I don't think I could get past like Genesis 8 because it just became too much for me. So I told her, I said, gosh, I'd really like to get a hold of one of those Bibles. So I asked one of the counselors at the treatment center, hey, can I get one of those recovery Bibles? Yeah, we'll see what we can do. They did COVID, yeah, things didn't happen like they do now. But the night that I was graduating, she presented me with her Bible. And that's the Bible that I read every day. And that's the Bible that I share with other people. And that was the Bible I was reading before Celebrate Recovery ever came to Goodland. And I was ready when they got here. And then I met some magnificent people here. I have met some very magnificent, amazing people here that I feel safe with. Nobody knew my whole story until tonight. A lot of darkness that started my life young that I tried to hide and tried to bury. And I figured it out today. From the time that I asked Jesus into my heart until the day that I recommitted myself to Jesus was 44 years. He waited for me for 44 years. And now that I'm back with him, I get to help other people. I get to share his message. I get to share his promises. I get to let people know that it's not the end of the world. Things happen. As a matter of fact, bad things happen to good people. I heard that. I did. And now I get to learn how to walk with the Lord, and I get to show other people that you're not a hopeless cause, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that God is there. You just have to ask him. He never left me. He never left me. He let me have my stupid way of thinking, the Lori way. But he never left me. And through losing my husband and thinking that I would have to give up everything that we had built here in northern Minnesota, and I would have to go back to the rat race of the cities, God has personally showed me what I can do up here. He showed me that I can have peace and that I can have serenity. And all the people that he's brought into my life, it's really sad, but I've got 3 granddaughters in the cities, 2 daughters and 2 son-in-laws. And I'm just not racing to go live there. It's a 2-hour and 45-minute drive for me. And I'll make that drive, all right, at least twice a week if I have to. But I will not leave, because God has so many plans for me up here. And do you know how I know that? Because he put it in my heart. It's one thing to get a piece of mail that says, hey, Lori, you should go to this school. It's another to have God speak to me and tell me, I have a plan for you, and this is what I want you to do. And I'm going to connect you with the people, and I'm going to connect you with the resources, and you're going to do this in my name. Trish, can we play that? Nope, okay. All right, so I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be here, and God is good. Have a good night.